The 6 to 7 Figure Show, episode 36. Let's hit it.
Broadcasting from the Valley of the Sun outside Phoenix, Arizona. This is the 6 to 7 Figure Show. Tired of working so hard and having no time? Take your six-figure practice and turn it to a thriving seven-figure enterprise. And now, your host, author, speaker, mentor, and strategist, Frank Bria.
Welcome, everyone, to the 6 to 7 Figure Show. I'm your host, Frank Bria, and today I am really pleased to be joined by James Swanwick, who is an Australian-American investor, entrepreneur, speaker, former SportsCenter anchor on ESPN, is the creator of the 30-Day No Alcohol Challenge, which helps people reduce or quit alcohol. Also the creator of blue blocking glasses, the Swanies by Swanwick Sleep, to help you sleep better. And James has interviewed tons of celebrities, including Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, George Clooney, Arnold Schwarzenegger. How's that for name dropping, James? We doing good there? Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Frank. Thanks for having me here.
Hey, absolutely, my pleasure. I wanted to get a quick kickoff in discussing kind of the no alcohol challenge. It seems to be kind of a newer, I guess, focus among entrepreneurs and executives to start to look at the effect of alcohol on their lives, their business. Are you seeing a shift now in people sort of deciding to change their relationship with alcohol and how that affects their effectivity?
Oh, yeah, it's on. The movement is on. I mean, people are increasingly sick and tired of alcohol. And I've noticed it. I mean, I've been running this as a business for about 5 years in terms of helping people quit alcohol. I've been alcohol-free myself now 9 years. And really in the last 2 years, I've seen a shift. I've seen a momentum start to take place where people are going, ugh, alcohol actually is a waste of time. Alcohol really is slowing me down. Alcohol really is costing me lots of money, and not just the money that you spend on alcohol, but the lost financial opportunities because of your alcohol, because you're not clear, because you don't have strategy, because you don't have focus, because you're just operating at a 6 out of 10. So yes, and more specifically, I'm seeing entrepreneurs and business owners and executives who are starting to make the correlation between, I'm realizing that my drinking is holding my business back. I'm realizing that my drinking, which may only be this seemingly innocent glass or two of wine or a couple beers at the end of the night, I'm realizing that even that is enough to disrupt my sleep, enough to me operate in my business at a 6 out of 10, which is enough for me to stay stuck or mediocre or not grow. And yeah, the shift is on.
That's interesting. And I think what's fascinating, I think, about that is this dynamic that I think a lot of people look at drinking habits and kind of isolate it to the time that the drinking is actually occurring. But you're connecting the dots between things that are happening, 24 hours later, even in people's businesses, where there's a connection between the behavior that people think is gone and what's actually happening right now and today.
Here's a very common story that I hear all the time with entrepreneurs. I'm stressed, I'm tired at the end of the day. I just want to relax with a couple of drinks. Yeah. No big deal, seemingly innocent. Pour themselves a couple glasses of red wine, maybe a red wine and a beer, maybe a couple beers, whatever. Sometimes it's a little bit more than that. Now, just those 2 drinks is enough for your sleep quality to be compromised. You do not sleep as well. You don't spend as much time in that deep REM sleep. So now you wake up feeling a little bit tired and a little bit irritable because your sleep quality hasn't been great. Right. So now you snap at your wife or your husband or your kids, or you drag your ass out of bed, not even being hungover, just a little bit kind of like, I'm like a 6 out of 10 today. So now you don't make that additional phone call that you ordinarily would have made. You're not proactive in creating that extra arm of the business. You're not really dialed in and focused on your sales calls. You're kind of like just a 6 out of 10. Yeah. And so what's going on? And then because you're tired and lethargic, you start to like go, I need a bit of an energy boost. So now you reach for like a Kit Kat or a Gatorade or a sugary carb-laden muffin or a croissant or whatever. And now you get that insulin spike, and then of course you come down and you have a crash, and now you got low energy again. So now you're drinking coffee, lots of coffee, and you put in some sugar and cream in there, and then you're stuck in this vicious cycle. And then at the end of the day, you're tired and exhausted again. You're like, oh, I just need to have a couple of drinks just to get through the day.
Yeah.
And what's happened is that you've just had a 6 out of 10 work day. And that is reflected in the revenue in the business. It's reflected in the quality of your relationships with your staff, your boss, your colleagues, your wife, your husband, your children. And it's not like you're rock bottom. It's not like you're an alcoholic. You're just a societally acceptable drinker who's playing small in life.
Mm. That's interesting. And it's fascinating, the chain of events that you've connected the dots to. I think a lot of people will be like, oh, wait a minute. that probably is exactly the chain of events. But I think the thing that's fascinating, the way you're describing this, is you're approaching this problem from a very sort of pragmatic, business-like return on investment perspective, where I think a lot of people in this space still have a very much like a quality of life or morality sort of angle to it. And it's that seems to be reflected in how you're talking about the issue and how you're dealing with it. How are you helping people solve this that would be different than, say, Alcoholics Anonymous or other programs that are helping people stop habits or bad habits in general?
Yeah, well, let me start with the traditional ways that people attempt to quit alcohol, and I'll demonstrate to you why they're mostly ineffective. And then I'll describe what I consider to be a new, fresh approach. So everyone's like, oh, AA. Well, first of all, you've got to admit that you're an alcoholic, and chances are you are not an alcoholic. You just drink too much. That's it, right? And so you want to go to an AA meeting, drive to an AA meeting, sit in a circle and say, hi, my name's Frank and I'm an alcoholic, when you know deep down you're not one. Do you really want to surrender to a higher power and say, I'm powerless over alcohol? Do you really want to hold hands and chant in a big circle and say, keep coming back, it works if you work, keep coming, whatever it is they say. Yeah. Now, just to be clear, I support the mission of AA in helping people quit alcohol or improve their relationship with alcohol. However, repeated studies over many decades have shown that AA's success rate is somewhere between 6 and 8%, which means around 95% of people are failed by AA. It does not work for 95% of people. It's also free. It's free. AA is free. Just go to AA. It's free. Well, let me tell you something. When something's free, you don't value it. When you pay attention. Right. So AA has less than a 10% success rate. Another way, these inpatient or outpatient treatment centers, which cost $50,000, sometimes $100,000, less than a 10% success rate. Willpower, I'm just going to white knuckle it, do it on my own. I should be able to do this. Less than a 10% success rate. And then, of course, when you fail, as most 90% of people do, then the guilt and the shame starts coming in the head. It's like, I'll never get this, I'm hopeless. And then you just reach for alcoholic drink again. Right. So they're the most common ways, and they all fail 90% of the time, and 90% of the people who try it. The approach that I do is somewhat different. I do it from instead of trying to quit alcohol, focus on drinking lots of water and exercising and having quality relationships. So I don't come from it like, oh, you've got a problem, we need to get rid of this poison, right, which it is poison. I come from it like, look at this fun, amazing life that you can have when you choose to be alcohol free, when you choose alcohol freedom. So it's fun accountability. It's powerful accountability. It's giving you a methodology, yes, my methodology, that rewires your brain into thinking alcohol freedom is awesome and I am strong and powerful and I'm having fun and I'm socializing without alcohol. This is great. But it's also doing it in a way that is fun, uplifting. It's not keeping you stuck in victimhood, like, I'm an alcoholic, my life sucks, oh my God, I drink too much, I'll never beat this. It's like, look what I get to be. Look at the amazing relationships I can have and the clarity and the focus and the energy. Look what I can achieve operating at a 9 out of 10. So the difference is a positive spin, and the difference is fun accountability, and the difference is getting a group of like-minded people to change in a group.
Yeah. And what, I mean, compared to the sort of 10% success rate, what are you seeing generally in this new methodology?
Yeah, well, I have a program which is called Project 90, and what that promises is that we will get you to be alcohol free for 90 straight days, at which point you can choose to continue being alcohol free or to go back to drinking. And so what we're finding at the moment is we have about an 85% success rate of people getting 90 straight days alcohol free. And of the 15% who don't get there, they get it on the second or third attempt. So 85% of people who join, who say, I'm drinking too much, I haven't been able to break this habit, we get them to 90 straight days the first time. 15%, they get there, they get to the 90 days straight, and then, but it takes one or two tries at it. Of the people who have got to 90 days, the next question is, well, how many of those have stayed alcohol free? Now that's a little bit harder for me to quantify, because we lose touch with some people. People don't always want to let us know how they're going. Yeah. But I can tell you that of the people who have stayed in touch with us, almost all of them have remained alcohol free. Some have gone back, but going back, they've gone back at moderation occasionally, as opposed to every night they're drinking a drink or two or going out. They no longer need alcohol. It's now just something that they have on occasion. So, of course, what I claim is I get all of the AA people just abusing me on my Facebook ads saying, hey, AA, I've been clean for 17 years. You're just trying to profiteer off people's whatever and all this kind of. I'm like, okay, AA has a less than a 10% success rate, but you do you. So anyway.
And the 10% success rate doesn't even count the people who don't even show up to the first meeting because they wouldn't consider themselves an alcoholic, and therefore they wouldn't even do that. I've heard the comparisons before, and you and I've talked about it too, but to me, it just seems like this isn't even the same space. You're working with folks who are, approaching this problem from a very different perspective. It just doesn't even seem like a comparison to me. But it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating statistics though.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of set myself a goal. I want to disrupt AA. I want to disrupt the alcohol rehabilitation or treatment center industry. And the shift, it's being disrupted anyway, generally, because people are now waking up to this. But what do people do if they realize that they drink too much? So they go to Google and they type in, how do I quit drinking? And what comes up? AA. Right. And I'm like, or inpatient treatment centers, I'm like, it literally has less than a 10% success rate. And like I said, I support the mission. I support what they're wanting to achieve. And they have helped millions of people. And so you can never say anything, too bad about any organization that wants to help people and has helped millions of people. Yeah. But let me tell you something, 10 times as many millions of people have not been helped by that organization. Sure. So I'm trying to create something different, which even if you double the success rate is a massive improvement, right?
Right. And it sounds like you've more than doubled it. So
well, we've 8 times it in terms of 90 straight days. Harder to quantify in terms of a lifelong thing at the moment, sure. But I would suggest that even worst case scenario, half of the people stay alcohol free. It's still 5 times better than AA.
Yeah. And I'm not sure AA's got lifetime numbers either. I'm sure they've done some studies, but people tend to come in and out of those programs too, depending on how things are going. But something that you said earlier, I want to kind of focus in on, because you talked about group. So you definitely talked about this is something that you kind of do in a group. Do you mind kind of walking us through the logistics of the process? How does that group work? And do people feel like, I guess the question a lot of people have in programs like this where they're working in a group is there safe? Can you be vulnerable? Is it a place for, how do you make that work in your program?
Yeah. Well, there's a New York Times best-selling book called Habit, and it's by an author called Charles C. Duhigg. And there's a line in the book which really resonated with me, which was change occurs amongst other people. So the group element is super important for success, because when you try to do it on your own with willpower, you tend to fail. When you do it with a group of like-minded people, which I call appropriate accountability, it's not accountability, because accountability can be your husband or wife cheering you on, And that's pretty much useless. It can be your buddies cheering you on. You can do it. That's pretty much useless. But appropriate accountability means a coach and a mentor, and then like-minded people going through the same change. So what we do is when someone signs up to Project 90, they'll have an onboarding call with my top coach, Kevin, and he'll walk you through my methodology for quitting drinking. Okay, so that's the first step. Now, every single day for those 90 days, we send you a daily video, which is only about 5 minutes long, and a daily text message. So I'm just in a very friendly way in your face,
right,
each and every day. That's the daily accountability. So we're not leaving it up to you to proactively go into the Facebook group to search for today's video. You get a message, ting, as a text message reminding you of your commitment, and you get an email, ting, with a little video reminding you of how to quit drinking on that day and giving you a little tip. You also go into a group video Zoom call weekly. So on a weekly basis on a Monday, people who are in the program will come in, and myself and my top coach will lead the coaching, and people get to see the other faces and hear the other stories and get to share their story to the other people, and they get to see other people get coached, and they get to get coached, and then they actually get to do coaching if they've been like 30 days in, 60 days in. So what that does is that it creates this appropriate accountability that I was referring to, where people can now be inspired by the success of other people. They can inspire by sharing their own success. They can get coaching from me and my top coach, Kevin, and they can coach by just being vulnerable and sharing their story. So everybody gets to win on that group setting. Yeah. There's also a closed Facebook group. To be frank, people don't engage in that closed Facebook group as much as I would like. And I've noticed a shift moving away from people like wanting to proactively go into Facebook, especially with my demographic who are more like 40s and 50s and 60s. Yeah. So one of our challenges at the moment is to identify a way where we can create a community for people to communicate with one another in between those weekly group Zoom calls. Sure. And then in addition, we also offer a weekly one-on-one call with my top coach where someone can pay a premium price to also speak to a top coach. So that's the appropriate accountability.
Yeah.
What's that, sorry?
To basically enhance the experience with some one-on-one coaching.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So you've, I think, we get two people we could be potentially talking to, right? Some people are interested in the program specifics, but even if you're not, you've just laid out a brilliant formula for accountability and community building, which I think is amazing. You've got this daily piece, which continues to create that continuity of message. Like you said, you're in their face. Like that continuity is really important. But the thing that you mentioned about the community, I think is really a critical thing where you've got the opportunity for people to be coached and to coach, the giving and the getting in the community. I think that's an important element that a lot of people in their group programs don't leverage as they're trying to build community. They don't allow or don't create opportunities for their own clients to basically give back to the community or help other clients. And at least as I've seen, there isn't anything more deepening of a teaching experience than to basically pass on that teaching to somebody else. That's a really good setup.
It's actually been shown in studies. They've done studies of the human brain and they've done studies of people's success that the fastest way to learn anything is to teach it. And then it's so true. When I've read a book and I've got some amazing stuff out of it and I underline some things and then I put the book down, I tend to forget what those things were. But if I read the book, underline the key passages, and then I'm for lack of a better word, disciplined enough to then go and do a YouTube video about it or put it, say, hey, I just read this book. And then I start to talk about what I learned. It's now embedding it in my own brain.
Yeah. The
fastest way to learn anything is to teach it. And it's so true. Like even with Spanish, it's like I'm trying to learn Spanish and try to understand the concept. And then I remember I had this friend of mine, Andrew, when I was living in Bogota, Colombia, and he was terrible at Spanish. Like couldn't learn Spanish. He'd been living there 5 years and he hadn't progressed past like hola and gracias. And then I remember I was just learning Spanish. And then I remember walking down the street with him in Bogota And I was saying, no, this is how they do it, right? This is how they structure the sentences, and they put the verbs here and the adjectives comes after the nouns. And so, and I remember, as I was saying it to him, I was like, this is actually, I'm coaching myself on this. Like I was told that, but this is me embedding it in my own brain. And that has now helped me get to the point where ahora mi español es mucho mejor que hace 5 años.
Yeah, and I don't speak Spanish, so I didn't catch any of that. There's one language I should know in Arizona, but I don't. It's just kind of personal thing. But no, it's a really good point. And one of the things that when I help people try to put programs together, there's often a lot of resistance about how one-on-one by itself, one-on-one coaching is sort of preferable or seen as a better way to deliver content, but it misses this incredible opportunity to help your clients basically get things straight in their own head by basically helping to a community. So yeah, I agree. It's a missed opportunity a lot.
Yeah, and I think the people who get the most benefit are the ones who do coach. And so on those group coaching calls, really my job and my top coach's job should just be to be a moderator. It should just be to say, right, hey, let's open it up. Christy, how was your week? Tell us about your week. John, how was your week? Tom, what do you think about that, Christy? Oh, that's interesting what Tom said. Hey, John, what do you think about what he said? And then just shut up and literally just be kind of like a moderator.
Right.
And I mean, obviously, there are times where you must do coaching. Someone asks you a question, but if you can go into it instead of saying this is a coaching call as the coach and go, oh, this is a moderating call as the coach,
right,
then I think people will get, I know people will get so much more benefit.
Yeah, that's a really good insight. One thing that you're really well known for is a 30-day no alcohol challenge. How does that relate to Project 90? Is that related at all?
Yeah. So like I said before, I haven't drunk in 9 years. And about 5 years ago, I just people kept asking me, how do you not drink? Like, how do you go out and have fun and not drink? And so I thought to myself, well, maybe I'll just create a program that helps people quit for 30 days and see what happens. And so in 30 days, I built out a program, which I named the 30-Day No Alcohol Challenge. And it's literally just 30 videos delivered to your inbox, one a day, showing you how to stay alcohol-free on that day, plus a Facebook group. And that's it. And I launched it 2015. So it's been going, as we're recording this, a little over 4 years now. And charged $67 for it. It just lives online. There's no coaching element to it. Like, it's just an online program. Yeah. The Facebook group for that program is highly engaged. People are posting in that all the time. I post videos and stuff and encouraging words. I give people badges when they get to 7 days. It's like, congratulations, 7 days alcohol free. Nice. And that's run by an assistant. So I'm not actually the one who's monitoring that. I have an assistant in the Philippines who I pay $5 an hour, and she monitors where people are, and she gives them the badges. At the end of 30 days, they get a big badge. Congratulations, 30 days. And that's been a really huge, motivating factor for people to want to get their 14-day badge and their 21-day badge and their 30-day badge.
Right.
That was something I underestimated how powerful that was going to be. And so, yeah, I've had that program now for 4 or 5 years. When I first launched Project 90, which runs in the thousands of dollars, what I noticed is that most of the people who were investing the thousands of dollars to join Project 90 were former members of 30-Day No Alcohol Challenge, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, a year ago, which makes a lot of sense because people have now built up trust with you, and they've had 30 videos of you, and they've been in the Facebook group. And so it's easier, obviously, to sell someone when you've already sold to them. So that was great. And now I think from what we're doing as a strategy is now we're going to drive paid traffic to 30-Day No Alcohol Challenge to get more people into that funnel. So then it becomes later easier to get them into the Project 90 program. Sure. Because we've been finding it challenging, not impossible and not even, difficult, but challenging to convert people who are only been aware of me for a week or two to then cough up thousands of dollars to join Project 90. So the idea of 30-Day No Alcohol Challenge now is to kind of embed that as a structural piece, play the long game to get those people to join Project 90.
And you're building up essentially your credibility with the group by helping them achieve a quick win. Not a quick win, it's 30 days, and it's not insignificant, but it's a win nonetheless. And great use of gamification, by the way, with the badges and things. That's a really powerful impact. James, we're out of time, so I apologize. I'd love to talk with you more about this, but before we go, one last question for you. What advice would you have for people who are trying to build up a group program of their own where this level of accountability and having your clients actually do what you teach them to do? What advice would you have them that would help build that accountability into their program?
Well, I like a daily touch point. So daily support doesn't need to be a daily coaching call. It can be as simple as a text message. I underestimated how powerful an automatic daily text message being sent to someone was, because email, I think these days has like less than a 50% open rate, but text messages has like a 97% open rate, which is pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, I think any marketer would die for that.
Oh yeah. So if your text message is just a motivational quote, which is all mine is, by the way, my 90 days of text messages is literally, I sat down for 2 hours one afternoon and wrote down 90 motivational, inspirational quotes around being alcohol free, and then just put it into, I think I signed up for Lead Digits or I don't even know what the software is. But when someone joins, they just get that automatic daily text. And so you're always in their face for those 90 days. It just reminds them. And the text message can be a call to action, like, hey, remember to go and post in the Facebook group today.
Right.
That will increase engagement. It will increase the accountability. It will increase the likelihood of your client's success. It will keep them engaged, and it will, you'll create like a raving fan, so to speak. So I think a daily text message and or a daily email. And I think maybe also we talked about those badges, like giving them little wins, like every week, giving them just like a little dopamine hit and a little reward, keeping them motivated, keeping them excited to keep coming back. And then also, also encouraging them to speak amongst themselves without having to come to a coach. Like foster that communication. And you can do that in a Facebook group. I've just downloaded an app called Marco Polo, which I'm going to experiment with to try and get members to talk on video amongst themselves. And I think if you can do a combination of all of those kind of things, I think you'll create a very highly engaged group that also have been given the best opportunity to succeed.
Those are great ideas. I love those. Those are terrific. I think any one of them individually would be such a huge benefit, but if you put them all together, that's pretty powerful. James, thanks so much for being with us. Really appreciate it. For those listeners who want to connect with you, what's the best way that they can do that?
Yeah, so if you want to check out the Project 90, jamesswanwick.com/project90. The 30-day no alcohol challenge is 30daynoalcoholchallenge.com. Feel free to send me an Instagram message at @JamesSwanwick, and you can also email me at james@jamesswanwick.com. Reach out, let me know what resonated with you. If you've got any questions, I reply to everyone. So we'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. And we'll put the links to the two programs in your contact information here. It's either below the video or it's on the show notes page. If you happen to be listening to this audio offline, then come on back to the show notes page and we've got that for you as well. James, thanks again for your time. Really appreciate it. You've got great experience to share and you've really given some great insights on how to build a group program. Really appreciate that.
Well, so have you, Frank. So thank you.
Thanks. I appreciate that. And thank you for listening. Appreciate it for being here on the 6 to 7 Figure Show. I've been your host, Frank Bria. Thanks again for spending time with us. We know you've got a lot of things to do. If you're spending it with us, we're honored that you've invested your time to learn a little bit from the great entrepreneurs we have on the show. And we will catch you on the next episode. Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.